Welcome to Real Estate Investing in the USA. My name is Delphine Nguyen, one of the co-founders of J Capital. Today, I'm so excited that we have Bob Floss with us. Hi, Bob. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, thank you for being here today. Could you please introduce yourself?
My name is Bob Floss II. I'm the principal attorney here at Floss Law. We're based out of Northbrook, which is up in the northern suburbs of Chicago. We service, like you said, all over Chicagoland. We go all the way up to the border of Wisconsin and way out to the western south suburbs. We pretty much represent real estate investors, flippers. So wherever there's an opportunity, we go with them.
Awesome. And I am one of Bob's clients too, right? And I
One of
hope
my favorites.
thank you. We have been working for a while, and I really appreciate all his inputs and wise advice. So I'm curious, Bob, how did you start your career in real estate in law practice?
So first I was in real estate. So I was born into it, really. I have a family that we're in, my family's in real estate. So I grew up in a real estate office. Since I was a toddler, I was running around a brokerage office. So I was always around it, around people negotiating deals, around people doing real estate. So I've really been involved with real estate for as early as I can remember. So I have memories of real estate in the 80s. I wasn't practicing, obviously, but I have memories of it. So I've seen a lot of different phases of the real estate market, how real estate has evolved over the years. I spent some time doing property management for a little bit. Went and got my broker's license. I still have a broker's license. I don't use it, and I still have it. Why would you ever let it go? But I was a broker for a few years. I was okay as an agent. I wasn't great as an agent, but I figured I think I'm more suited for the legal side. So I always had it ever since high school. I always had the idea that I wanted to go to law school. Went to law school, came out. Obviously, it was natural for me to gravitate back towards doing real estate because I had so much experience with it. And at that time I graduated law school in 2008, right when everything crashed. So my first job coming out was working with a law firm that primarily did bankruptcy, which I knew nothing about. So that was wonderful. I learned a lot about um, the effect of doing bankruptcy with real estate, and was doing all of their short sales. And at that time, I would say the first 2 years I was an attorney, everything I do is a short sale because at that time that was all that we had. That was the entire real estate industry. So did almost all short sale closings for about 2 years, and then as the market shifted, then we shifted. And I was already at that time working with a lot of investors because a lot of investors at that time were buying short sales, rehabbing them, and then flipping them. So I kept working with those investors. A lot of the investors that have been working at that time transitioned to, we're doing a high volume before. We're doing more of stabilized investments, doing either more high end flips, or I started working with a lot more people that wanted to look at apartment buildings and do that. And I made a shift. And then for about another 3 year period, I basically only did like apartment building deals. That was essentially all I did. And then, as things always move in cycles. Real estate is a very cyclical business. You can't keep any sort of at least in my view, you can't keep any sort of business plan for really more than about 3 years. After about 3 years, then things kind of shift, and then you have to shift. So apartment buildings kind of died down in Chicago. They got the prices ran up. And now I do just a lot of regular residential closings. Still work with a lot of flippers, a lot of investors, a lot of people that do buy and hold. And and transition to doing a lot just regular residential closings, and then working with people like you, where you're putting together LLCs, JV agreements, trying to figure out different structures for an investment, how it works, what will work, and hopefully figuring out a really good investment plan that will last you for 10, 20 years.
Wonderful. So in the audience, there are many foreign investors. So could you please elaborate more? What is short sale? And another word that you mentioned a lot is um, bankruptcy, right?
Mhm.
Could you give us some like explanation what is a short sale and
Oh,
how
sure.
bankruptcy is taking place in the US?
Yeah. So what happens is, and this varies by state. So I'll try to give it as encompassing as I can, so everyone has an understanding of it. Essentially, either case that you're looking at, either bankruptcy or short sale, the homeowner's getting into trouble. So the homeowner's fallen behind on their mortgage. The homeowner has defaulted on their mortgage. Generally, the banks will file a foreclosure after about 90 to 120 days. Generally, it's 90 days. Sometimes it's 120 days. They'll file what's called a lis pendens. A lis pendens is a foreclosure that's filed against the property. Now, at that point, the homeowner has a couple different things they can do, a couple of combinations of things they can do. One is they can, hopefully, if we get to the homeowner soon enough, we can do what's called a short sale. A short sale is where you still put the property on the market, you get an offer from a buyer, we take that contract along the list agreement with the realtor, a purchase contract from a buyer. Then we have to get a lot of financials from the seller. I have to get their last 2 years tax return, 60 days bank statements, 60 days pay stubs, a hardship letter of why you fell behind. We send it all to the bank along with a few other things, but we send everything off to the bank. And then the bank will determine, okay, well, we're owed 400,000 on this property, but the best offer you can get for it right now is 350. So we'll agree to take this reduced amount for this payoff and hopefully forgive the homeowner for the remainder. And then we do a real estate closing. The limitations on that, a lot of times we prefer to try to get an investor buyer or someone who has the ability to buy cash, because we really don't know when we're going to get that approval. So it can make it complicated for someone who has a loan or needs to close by a specific period of time. Sometimes we get short sale approvals in 2 months. I've gotten them, I've done a couple this year where we got approvals in as little as 2 months. Sometimes they do go for 5, 6, 7 months. So there's a little bit of unpredictability as far as when we can close. That makes it difficult for regular homeowners. So we prefer investors or cash buyers if we can, because we know that you can be ready to go at short notice. Um, it also is a little limiting because the bank has to approve all the closing costs. So there's no credits or anything we can give at the end. We pretty much have to have the whole deal, set in stone. And then from then on forward, we can't change anything. So the bank is very strict as far as what closing costs are allowed. The other thing that the homeowner can do is there's two main types of bankruptcy. There's a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Chapter 7 is the serious one. Chapter 7 is the one where you're walking away from everything. It's the clean slate. You walk in and you tell the judge, look, we can't afford anything. We're in a really bad situation. We can't even make payments. We're going to wipe everything clean, right? Meaning we're not responsible for the mortgage anymore. All of our credit cards are closed out. Everything gets closed out. Now, someone can do Chapter 7 and still do a short sale. It's a misconception on that. So you can do both. But generally people do one or the other, but you can absolutely do both. I've done that for a lot of people. The other one is called Chapter 13. Chapter 13 is where they do the payment plan. Generally, not always, but generally when someone does a Chapter 13, they're trying to catch up on their mortgage payments. So 13 is where you say we have 60 months or 60 payments to catch up on our credit card bills, catch up on our mortgage, do things like that. So generally when you have a homeowner doing a Chapter 13, it means that they want to try to keep the house, but not always. Sometimes they start making those payments and realize we're not going to be able to do this for the next 5 years, that 60-month payment plan. So sometimes they'll start out intending on that and then decide, you know what, maybe we will still do a short sale and let the house go because we just can't afford this. Because when we do that payment plan, you not only have to start making that mortgage payment again, you have to become current with the monthly payments, but now you have to make up all the payments that you missed. So now you're really making two payments. So some people start out doing that, and then a couple of months in, they say, we can't do this. This is too much. We can't do this anymore. So it makes for really good leads, because obviously it gives us the opportunity to find someone who has a need to sell the house. Sometimes there's deferred maintenance on it. Sometimes the properties are abandoned. So it's a good opportunity for an investor to come in and buy a property that needs a lot of work done to it. It's a value add opportunity. So it's good for everyone all around. We're helping the homeowner get out of a bad situation, and we're helping investors find really good properties for them to acquire.
Great. Thank you for sharing.